and to be held accountable for the money that they receive to provide those services. And not only are they providing information to us, but they have other funders, that they're also accountable. So it's very important that what they are reporting to us is accurate, as can be, because a lot of the funding that they receive, especially from the other funders, is based on performance. How many victims they provided services to, and that's part of the funding population. So there are three primary funders in Pennsylvania. There's, my office, Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, and our biggest pocket of money to give them is VOCA. Then we also have the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape that provides funding to all the rape crisis centers. There's 51 rape crisis centers in Pennsylvania, and the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence, of course, providing funding to all the DV agencies. And I think there's about 70 DV agencies in Pennsylvania. So before implementing this, what agencies would need to do was, report to the big three funders 3 different ways. They had 3 different due dates. There was 3 different ways of computing data because as funders, we weren't all on the same page either. Well, we want things this way and we want things that way. So it could be a lot to juggle for a local victim service agency. And what we were finding is that some of our local victim service agencies were even accidentally counting statistics wrong. And this kind of even came more to light as we embarked on this project and got a chance to talk as big three funders coming to a table together. Rules of all the knowledge here, what we were each seeing, the ways people were each counting things differently. So one of the major challenges that was faced by nonprofit organizations was the time they were spending and the costs associated with meeting funder compliance. So administrators and staff are making a huge investment in producing numbers versus using the time to administer programs and direct help. One thing, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention BJ Horn, who was the previous director of my office. This was kind of her baby, like her idea when it first started. She read a study done by the RAND Corporation where, it's talking about 44% of staff time, being used to provide reports to funders, and 11% of the organization's funds being used to just work on those compliance activities. And what the RAND study also found is that the people running the reports had limited access to the true data that they needed. So the quality of the reports and the computation methods and everything was very low. And it was very tedious for them to track things different ways with funders. So this is where we came up with this idea of DCOP, Data Collection, Reports and Outcomes project. So in the beginning, what we wanted to do was just be able to develop a case management system where a victim service agency could enter all of their information from the first time they meet with the victim, what would be like an intake form, they'd enter that into this case management system, they record the services they provided that person, the time spent providing each service, and that's all they'd have to do. They could forget about reports because in the background we were working with Social Solutions to create those reports for them. So by just entering data in the system, they now can, by the push of a button, generate a report then for that month and see how things are mapping to the different funder reports. So the reason we work with Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape and Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence is because all the agencies they fund also get our VOCA funding. So by the 3 of us coming together and then entering information in the system, they no longer then had to figure out how to count things 3 different ways. They entered it in here, Social Solutions created the reports that the funders wanted, so now they can click run the PCCD report, or run the CUCAR report, or run the VOCA report, and all that information gets funneled the right way to the reports. So I'm going to hand things over to George now, who's going to tell you more about how this project kind of got kicked off and started and where we're at today. We definitely want to do a live demo of this to show you as well. Yeah.
Hi. So I'm gonna quickly go through the remaining involved with the BPROC, we were actually able to involve not only the funders at the table to kind of define what it is that we wanted to do, but we also were able to get representatives from each of the different VSP types. So we had representatives from domestic violence, rape crisis,
Like the comprehensive centers, the one that work with other violent crime victims.
right. Everybody that had to report information. So what we did, we wanted to get them together and say, okay, what can we do to simplify your jobs, right? A lot of these guys were still using paper and pencil to track service data, and then it would become a huge manual process to take that data and then make a report out of it, right? Still others had homegrown systems. They had to rely on internal IT services to build and evolve, such as access databases. Still, we had others that were using other proprietary systems that were great at collection data, but you know what? They couldn't provide the automatic report to the funder agency. So we looked at all that, and we basically went to the wall and said, okay, at the end of the day, we're going to come up with a system that simplifies your processes, standardize the data collection, allows you to report data, push the button. And as you stated, we just went live this past week. So after we did the discovery phase, that's defined what it is that we wanted to build. We went into a blueprint phase, and basically that was my attempt at summarizing everything that I was able to learn. Come back to the group and say, okay, this is what we're going to build. Is this cool? Yes, it is. Then we went off and built it. Once we went through configuration, we went through a testing phase, which is typical of any computer-based system. We did some tweaking along the way. We did some user training. And now at this point, we're in a process of improving what has been put out there. We're making some minor tweaks as we learn some additional pieces of information as users actually continue to use it. One of the other things that we sought to do with this project is create a series of custom reports. And again, when I say custom report, it may sound like a simple thing. And it is to the user. You push a button, the report is drawn. But what I want to point out is that we were able, within this project, to actually get agreement on part of all the funders as far as what the specific data elements need to be and how to define the statistics behind those data elements. So once again, we remove that responsibility from the user. They merely have to enter their data and save it. One of the other things we're doing with this project is something called data migration. So for those organizations who actually have been using systems, regardless of the data type, we're actually also working with them to migrate their data from whatever store they have into what we've created. Now, the product is going to ensure that it has the built-in capacity to upload data. So again, we're working through that with them, and I want to know that functionality is available. Now, let me talk briefly about what I'm about to show you. So ETO impact. Hopefully some of you guys have heard that. ETO stands for efforts to outcomes. As a company, we started off as case workers, and we set off to design systems to help us improve our jobs so we can spend more time with the people we help. Well, that turned into a company, and that turned into what is effectively an internet-based product. It's internet-based in the sense that in order to get the software, you have to have a individualized username and password. It's a secure site, which means that, similar to a banking system, you go in to check your accounts. The level of security is similar to that. As a matter of fact, one of our biggest clients is the Social Security Administration. So in order to even do business with that organization, we have to have the very most stringent security protocols in place. I was actually joking before the meeting. It was the only time in my life, thankfully, that I've ever had to be fingerprinted. Today. So I say that by merely stressing the fact that the data is, in fact, very secure. As a matter of fact, in the packet we gave you, there's a one-page that kind of talks about how we deal with data security, because this question comes up all the time. We know that the client information that you are collecting is highly secure. So, I stand up here to assure you that it is, in fact, secure in our system. Now, graphic representation of how it all works. Extremely simple, but simple is good. So, the way it works is that Social Solutions, SSI, we have the server. We own the server. We have servers located on the East Coast, and there's backup servers in the Midwest. The way it works is that every single VSP within the Commonwealth, they actually are able to access the server and enter their own data. And by virtue of that, they're able to interact with their own data, run reports, and so forth. Now, the other aspect of this project was to simplify things for the funders as well. So the idea is that no longer do the funders necessarily have to wait for the VSP to turn in a report. The funder is actually also empowered to run the report on behalf of the VSP. Now, immediately red flags goes up, right? Great, I've got a funder that's accessing VSP data. That is true. However, it is a non-identified, non-confidential set of data. Okay? They cannot get the participant information, but they can still run the reports on behalf of the agencies. Okay, so at this point, let me jump in here.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, please, get you with questions along the way so I can answer them in time.
How do you get them to, how did you do the because definitions for all federal grants are so different. So how did you, because we can't even get beyond that stage.
Yeah, it was the most difficult part of the project. It was absolutely without.
And we, this is just for VOCA recipients and agencies that are in the PCCD funding or coalitions. So we didn't have to work with other federal, stuff. But this project was specific to these three funding streams. So it was basically us sitting around the table comparing definitions and saying, well, and I do want to say, I can't budge on this one. This is a VOCA definition. I have to stick with it. They're like, well, we can budge on ours, and, yeah, we can change ours to be more in line with VOCA. So the thing that I thought was most challenging wasn't necessarily the definitions, but the actual services that each of the funders, say to provide. So we created a chart where we handed out now to our people using the system, saying if you select this service, then it's going to this funder, this funder, this funder. I mean, if you select this service, it's only going to PCCD. So they know right front what service maps where. And maybe the service in our system has a different name, but it's the same thing as VOCA's, criminal justice support advocacy. So they may call it, I went to sentencing, that goes in the background to map to the VOCA report as criminal justice support and advocacy. So we were able to do the hard work. So the agencies no longer have to figure that out themselves within the group background.
Yeah, but you know how VOCA, they count the number of victims that receive the service. So how do you get by that one?
We worked with, he's going to show you, we created a victimization assessment basically. So that if someone's added into the system, then they go to this next document and they select the primary type of victimization they're receiving services for. And then if it's a VOCA eligible service, then that's going to the VOCA report as this, type of crime victims receiving service from us. And then it also does accounting of unduplicated services. So maybe they came for, ongoing counseling every month. It's still only going to show up in the VOCA report as it happened one time.
How did you pay for this?
We use some stimulus money for this one, and also some burn checks. And we're making it available to any of our service agencies that want to use it at no cost.
I'm videotaping this.
And for 3 years, we're focused after 3 years, contract with Upper Social Solutions, we'll be able to find additional funding to then sustain it, so the agencies would never have to incur costs for us.
Very much.
Does the product have to be on your server?
Yes.
And the reason for for having me on our servers is simply we have so many clients. We have about 15,000 different programs across the country using ETO. So when we try to host it on a city servers or on someone else's,